On day 1, I spawned into the ancient forest as a super cool elemental wolf, a wolf spirit tuned into the power of the elements. This is awesome! And I've got 10 hearts too. That's so exciting. I wonder what I can do. I concentrated hard and blasted a powerful ball of energy. This would be an excellent weapon if anybody tried to attack me. And that was exactly what happened. A ghast floated out between the trees before me. What? Why are you here? Aren't ghasts supposed to stay in the nether?
You know nothing, little wolf. The world is changing, and the wheel of time turns on the command of our master, Fungi the Mushroom Lord. Will you swear your allegiance to him?
What? Fungi the Mushroom Lord? I'm not gonna swear allegiance to anyone if I don't know what they stand for.
If you are not the servant of the Mushroom Lord, then you are his enemy, and it is my duty to destroy his enemies. All glory to the Mushroom Lord!
The ghast started firing deadly fireballs at me. I was lucky that with my elemental powers, I took less elemental damage from the fire than a normal wolf did. I turned and ran as fast as I could, losing the ghast somewhere behind me. I wasn't expecting to get attacked so early, and who was this Fungi the Mushroom Lord? Before I could take the time to process any of this, zombies came shambling towards me out of the trees. In a moment of panic, I hit them with an energy blast, destroying them. Using my powers like this is exhausting. I need to find somewhere to sleep and figure all of this mess out. I found some shade beneath a tree and laid down to get some sleep. On day 2, I woke up from under the tree and went exploring the ancient forest. It seemed that this experience wouldn't be as awesome as I thought. I need to find out everything I can about this Mushroom Lord and why nightmarish nether creatures like the ghast are serving him. But first, seeing as how my powers exhaust me, I need some tools and some food. I started on the tools first. In the ancient forest, I was completely surrounded by trees. That's why it was so easy to break one of them down and collect enough wood to make myself a trusty wood pickaxe. Well, not that trusty, but it's a decent means to an end. I used the pickaxe to mine up some of the stone blocks. Between the stone and some spare sticks, I soon had a stone pickaxe and a stone sword. Not quite as defenseless now. That brings me some small comfort at least. I continued exploring the forest with my new tools until I happened upon an evoker standing in a clearing. I approached to ask him a few questions. Greetings, proud evoker. I'm Zozo, the elemental wolf. I have an important question to ask you, but first, an even more important question. Do you have any food?
Of course, Zozo. Here, have some of this meat. It's what a growing wolf needs.
The evoker gave me some meat, which I ate, seeing my hunger bar replenish. Thank you for this great kindness. And as for the other question, do you know anything about Fungi the Mushroom Lord? I ran into his ghast. He seems like some kind of threat to this land.
You speak the truth, Zozo. Fungi is a great evil. Some say he rose up from the deep dark. Others say he was grown in some kind of fungal patch of pure evil. All we know for sure is that he controls mutants, monsters, and abominations across the world. And if he isn't stopped, the entire overworld will descend into corruption and filth.
That sounds like a job for a certain elemental wolf. Rest assured, evoker, over the next 100 days, Fungi the Mushroom Lord will be defeated. On day 3, I knew that I needed to seek shelter. I couldn't hope to defeat the mushroom monster if I didn't have a place to rest and hone my abilities. As an elemental wolf, I have deep knowledge of the ancestral home of the elemental wolves in the ancient forest. Perhaps I could seek shelter there. But when I arrived at the ancestral home, I was devastated to find that it was already in ruins. It looked like nobody had really lived there in centuries. This must mean I'm the last and only elemental wolf. No matter, I have a duty and I still need to see it through. I'll rebuild the ancestral home myself. I crafted a stone axe and chopped down trees to gather raw materials, then set about painstakingly repairing the broken ancestral home until it was a brand new base of mine. For a brief period, I took a break to admire how the work was coming along when a huge, vicious giant came charging out of the woods. He must have been another one of the Mushroom Lord's monsters. While the giant was big and I was small, I didn't back down. I held my ground and fought back against the huge creature until he was no more. And this act of heroism gave me the power I needed to become bigger and stronger. I also rose up to 20 hearts and gained the elemental ability to breathe fire. Yes, this is more like it. I spent the rest of the day finishing up work on the base, proud of myself for how well it was all developing. From day 4 to day 5, I ventured out further into the forest, wanting to find more wood and stone that would help me rebuild the ancestral home to its former glory. When I have a fortress that's truly fit for an elemental wolf, it'll give me the confidence I need to vanquish the Mushroom Lord and save the world. But I must have been talking about saving the Mushroom Lord a little too loudly, because suddenly, the same ghast I'd run away from earlier had popped out of the trees.
You insolent brat! You have no idea the power you're messing with! The Mushroom Lord is a god, and you are a mere ant!
Why are you so devoted to serving that nasty toadstool?
You have no idea the power he commands! They say he cannot be destroyed, and all who face him are doomed to fall ill and wither away! Such is his supreme toxic power.
The only thing that's toxic to your devotion is this evil wannabe ruler. So how about we cut the talk and fight this one out?
That's the first intelligent thing you've said all day.
The ghast was a formidable foe with his deadly exploding fireballs, but in the end, it was my elemental energy blast that won the day. The ghast was defeated, and I gathered up the materials I'd come to collect before making my way back to my base. From day 6 to day 8, I ventured into a deep, dark mine network that contained many treasures, secrets, and deadly enemies. I crept through carefully, trying not to attract any unwanted attention. I was here for one thing and one thing only: some valuable iron ore, perfect for upgrading my weapons. We'll see who wins, gross squishy mushrooms or reliable cold iron. I looked up after the mining was done, hearing footsteps. It was a ghost miner walking towards me out of the darkness. But once again, I wasn't going to fold. I unleashed my elemental flame breath on the ghost miner, easily defeating it. Then I proceeded further into the dusty old cave where I found an abandoned furnace. There I forged an iron sword and an iron pickaxe. The Mushroom Lord is gonna love these, I'm sure. From day 9 to day 10, I decided to leave the cave and the ancient forest and explore the autumnal valley. It's been an intense few days. I think I need to go to a nice, calm place and clear my head so I can make a plan of action. But because the universe has a cruel sense of humor, during this mission of relaxation, I found Fungi the Mushroom Lord himself waiting for me. A huge, terrifying fungus man.
Ah, so you're the little cub they call Zozo. You're far less impressive than I was led to believe. Such a shame. I thought having an interesting challenger might liven up this whole process.
This process being...
The great change. I will alter and rebuild this sad little world in my own image. So far, none have offered up a meaningful challenge, and I don't expect that you will change this.
Allow me to prove you wrong, Fungi. I unleashed my strongest attacks on him: Energy Blast, Fire Breath, and even the strikes of my new Iron Sword. But it had no effect. That's when he struck me with an Energy Blast of his own that almost destroyed me. All I could do was run away in terror. I ran as fast as my elemental wolf legs could carry me. Even when I could no longer see Fungi the Mushroom Lord, I still felt terrified of him. I don't think I'd ever been so close to total destruction. In my darkest moment yet, an air elemental appeared.
Be calm, child. Fear will not save you here.
How could I be calm? I couldn't even slightly hurt him, and hurting me was nothing to him. I'm outclassed here.
But Zozo, you're the only one who can defeat him. Do you not know of the prophecy about the elemental wolf?
Prophecy? Look, I don't want to talk here. He could pop up at any time. Come back to my base with me, the ancestral home of the elemental wolves. We'll talk more there. From day 11 to day 12, I returned to my base to find the air elemental already there waiting for me. How did you do that?
I'm an air elemental, young Zozo. I can move as swift and silently as the wind.
Then I guess I better build you a new room. Right now, there's only one for me.
That would be much appreciated, Zozo.
I spent the rest of the afternoon building the air elemental a new room in the ancestral home. When it was done, he fitted in there nicely.
You have done well, Zozo. Allow me to give you your first mission. You must source armor.
But wolves can't wear armor, air elemental. What use would armor give me?
You're not going to wear it, Zozo. You're going to keep it in the chest at the ancestral home. Having it in there will harden the strength of your spirit. It's an ancient tradition, you see.
Very well, Master. I shall do this.
Good. Take this potion of strength should you encounter trouble on your way.
I returned to the cave where I mined for more iron ore. However, my little adventure was interrupted by a huge, terrifying deadworm burrowing through the ground towards me. I tried to shoot it with an energy blast, but it resisted the attack. I needed to quickly drink the potion of strength the air elemental had given me. That gave me the boost I needed to pull out my sword and finally defeat the beast. Then, I took the iron ore down to the underground furnace and smelted it into a full set of iron armor and finished my tool set. After that, I went back to my base and the air elemental created a chest in my room. I put all my new iron armor inside and just hoped that the air elemental was right. I'll take anything that can help me right now. From day 13 to day 15, I convened with the air elemental in his room. He told me that he wanted to tell me about the prophecy he had mentioned earlier. You said something about an elemental wolf prophecy?
Yes, that I did. It's an ancient one that I studied back when I was a mere monk, before ascending to the level of air elemental. The prophecy says that a darkness would rise up from the ground and spread evil and tyranny across the overworld. Many would fall, but in the end, a great hero, the final elemental wolf, would rise up, discover his true power, and turn back to the dark. I believe that prophesied one is you, Zozo.
But, that's impossible! The last time I fought Fungi the Mushroom Lord, I didn't leave a scratch on him, and he almost destroyed me! I can't be the one from the prophecy!
You can be, and I truly believe you are, Zozo. But you must train hard and fight with all you have. Only then can you stand a chance against the terror that faces you. Are you up for the challenge?
I'll have to think about it. From day 16 to day 19, I woke up to find that the base was eerily quiet. I searched around, but I couldn't find the air elemental anywhere. This isn't good. I sense that something terrible has happened. I need to follow my elemental intuition and find him before it gets any worse. I followed my senses out to the cold swamplands. There, I couldn't help but feel paranoid. It was like I was being watched every step I took. And those senses paid off because suddenly an ender creeper teleported in front of me.
The Mushroom Lord was right. You fell right into our trap, little silly woofy. And you think you're gonna be the one who defeats him? Embarrassing!
What did you do with the air elemental? If you hurt him,
You what? There's nothing you can do. Nothing except be destroyed.
The ender creeper ran at me, preparing to explode. He probably would have blown up half the swamplands if I hadn't hit him with a quick energy blast, destroying him before he had a chance to destroy me. Man, the people that the Mushroom Lord are sending after me really are dangerous. Suddenly, the air elemental popped out of nowhere. He must have been bound by some kind of dark magic until I defeated that awful ender creeper.
Zozo, you saved me! You're a true hero! Thank you so much for this!
Master Air Elemental, I'm so happy you're alive! This is amazing news!
I'm going to return to the base to regain my strength. Stay safe out here, Zozo. Fungi the Mushroom Lord has agents everywhere.
The Air Elemental left, and I continued exploring the eerie cold swamplands. During my search, I found a few zombies and was able to defeat them with my deadly iron sword. That gave me enough XP to level up again, becoming bigger, stronger, going as high as 30 hearts, and gaining a new ability, Claw Attacks. That feels appropriate for a wolf. I decided to leave the swamp, but on the way out, I ran into a wise-looking gold pig.
You seem like you're in a hurry, son.
Of course I am. I'm going to defeat Fungi the Mushroom Lord.
No, you're not.
What? Yes, I am.
No, you're not. Fungi the Mushroom Lord is a monster of pure evil. He's literally invincible. Unless you have the halo, which is almost impossible to get. There's no way you can beat him.
Oh. From day 20 to day 22, I returned to my base, only to see a couple more zombies milling around the grounds. The corruption of Fungi the Mushroom Lord seems to spread everywhere. I used my claw attacks to destroy the two zombies, then slinked off to my room, feeling defeated. Maybe there really was no way for me to defeat the Mushroom Lord. Maybe the prophecy was all nonsense. As if sensing my self-doubt, the air elemental wafted towards me.
Zozo, I've been working on something for you. I wanted to wait until it was done, but I think you need to see it now. It's a statue, a kind of monument, meant to inspire you and remind you of your inner strength. Perhaps you can help me finish it.
I went out behind my base and saw the beginnings of a statue. Already, it was amazing, even awe-inspiring. I felt so grateful to the air elemental for everything he'd done. Can you guess what it is yet? If you can, tell me down in the comments. And while you're down there, remember to subscribe to Zozo and hit the bell to make sure you never miss one of our adventures. From day 23 to day 26, a swarm of gas floated towards my base, launching explosive fireballs, trying to damage the statue we'd been working on.
Oh no! More of the Mushroom Lord's minions!
Don't worry, I'll handle them.
Be careful, Zozo.
I leaped into action. I had already taken on one gas, so I was feeling pretty confident about this fight. But they outnumbered me. I had to be careful not to take any hits. Since they'd come from the nether, the gas managed to resist my fire breath, but luckily, my energy blast seemed to do the trick. One of them even dropped an item I'd never seen before, a fire aspect enchantment for my sword. Wow, this is so cool. I'd better try it out. I ventured off to the Autumnal Valley to practice my new fire aspect sword on a horde of meandering zombies. Each hit of my new weapon made them burst into flames. Once the zombies were dispatched, a mysterious stranger approached me.
Wow, that's a mighty impressive blade you've got there.
Thanks. Who are you?
Well, I'm a weaponsmith, see? I specialize in quality crafted swords, bows, you name it. I've been trying to get to safety since the Mushroom Lord's forces started swarming all over the place. I don't suppose you know anywhere I could stay?
Sure, come back to my base in the ancient forest. We returned to my base, and the weaponsmith saw some of the damage the gas had left, so they suggested some ways we could improve the defenses, making my ancestral home better protected against attacks. I built a perimeter wall to keep the Mushroom Lord's minions at bay, and in return for giving me the idea, I surprised the weaponsmith with a new room that he could stay in.
This looks fantastic, Zozo. Thank you.
From day 27 to day 31, I decided to ask the weaponsmith if they knew anything about the Halo, the mystical item that could supposedly be used to defeat Fungi the Mushroom Lord once and for all.
Oh, yes, sir. I've heard many legends of such a thing. Supposedly, an ancient and powerful being fell from the sky many centuries ago. It was the first being to wield a halo, and it used the power to create the overworld and fill it with life. Then, it created balance between all the elements, between light and dark, good and evil. But then the dark and evil it had created to balance out all the good tried to overthrow the mighty creature and steal the halo for their own dastardly means. In the end, the ancient thing cast its halo out into space. Some folks like to think it's what formed the heart of the sun and keeps it burning.
Huh, that's quite the story. You think you could forge a halo of our own?
Well, that's no small feat, Zozo. It would just be a knockoff if I made it. Besides, a halo requires a powerful being, one able to bring balance to all the elements in order to wield it. But the real thing could be out there somewhere. There's some stories about it being lost at the heart of the swampland, so maybe start there.
My search for the halo took me into the swamplands again, but I wasn't able to get very far. A witch ambushed me, sent by the Mushroom Lord to stop my progress. The witch was wielding dangerous spells, and although I fired a few energy blasts back, I couldn't get close enough to use my claw attacks, so I had to retreat. From day 32 to day 35, I was still determined to track down the ancient halo. Maybe the prophecy of the elemental wolf meant I could wield it and use its power to stop the Mushroom Lord. I ventured back to the cold swamplands, and luckily that pesky witch had gone. But the place wasn't empty. Completely by chance, I stumbled across a weird creature that looked like a mix between a chicken and some kind of lizard. Hey, what the heck are you?
Why, I'm a cockatrice, but my friends all call me Clarence.
Are you with the Mushroom Lord? I heard he controls all sorts of monsters and mutants.
That's rude. I'm actually trying to get away from the Mushroom Lord.
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. Say, why don't you come back to the ancient forest? My base is there.
Sounds like a plan, Zozo. I'll see you there.
Clarence ran out of sight, adding another person to my forces in the war against evil. But then, all of a sudden, the Mushroom Lord emerged.
Clarence, there's no use in hiding. You will be mine.
Oh no, I need to make myself scarce. Before the Mushroom Lord could see me, I quickly dug a small pit into the ground and hid in it until he passed through. Phew, that was a close one. From day 36 to day 39, I made my way back to my base, where Clarence was waiting for me. I immediately started working on a comfy new room for him, and when the room was done, Clarence and I sat inside, discussing our common enemy. So, what made you want to leave the Mushroom Lord's armies?
He's just so cruel. All he cares about is controlling the overworld and making everyone do his bidding. Some of us just want to live our lives, do our own thing without him telling us what to do all the time.
Say, Clarence, I've been searching for a halo so I can use its power to stop the Mushroom Lord once and for all. Do you think you could help me find it?
Well, what do you know? I heard about something like that.
They say that the halo glows bright with the heat of the heavens, so why don't you head someplace hot to find your halo?
That's a pretty good idea. I'll head to the desert. Things are pretty hot out there.
Listen, Zozo, I wanted to repay you for letting me stay. I noticed you had an unfinished statue outside, so I thought I'd give you a hand with it. What do you think?
I went to take a look at the statue's progress. Whoa, I'm really impressed. Thanks, Clarence. You didn't need to do that. I'm happy to help, but I still appreciate the gesture. The statue was looking better than ever, a large recreation of an elemental wolf like me that perfectly told everyone around not to mess with us and that this forest was protected. Even if the statue was unfinished, seeing it closer to completion made me feel inspired. From day 40 to day 43, the weaponsmith informed me that I'd need some much stronger gear if I was going to explore the desert in search of a magic halo.
Listen here, Zozo. You don't want to get stuck in the desert without the right equipment. Luckily, I can make you what you need. I just need you to head into a cave near here to grab the right materials.
No problem.
Just be careful. There could be all sorts of critters down there.
I set off to the cave that the weaponsmith had pointed out, and it didn't take long for me to meet some critters, just like they'd warned me. I had to fight my way through the nasty insects, but lucky for me, my fire aspect sword was burning through them pretty easily. It was only as I got deeper into the cave that I discovered a nest of the bugs, with a Myrmex queen in the center. I used an energy blast to clear the path. Too much fire, and I'd run the risk of getting burned myself. With the nest cleared out, I found what I needed: diamonds! Bringing them back to the weaponsmith, they were able to turn the diamonds into a matching diamond pickaxe and diamond sword for me. Now I was ready to head off to the desert. From day 44 to day 49, I was certainly glad to have a diamond sword handy. When I first made my long journey to the desert, I encountered a troll, a huge, ugly beast that tried to smash me to pieces. Luckily, I was able to dodge out of the path of his attacks. He was much bigger and slower, so my wolf speed made it easier to duck and weave between his clumsy, cumbersome swings before I could land the final blow with my sword. With the troll defeated and out of my way, I continued towards the desert. But when I arrived, it was clear just how dangerous this place was. Someone was already in trouble.
Help! Somebody, help!
It was a Cyclops who was being crowded by vicious husks. They were using the fact he had only one eye to take swipes at him from all sides. I jumped right in to help, hacking all the husks down.
Wow, thanks so much for your help.
No problem. I don't suppose you know where I can find the ancient halo?
The halo? I'm pretty sure there's an old temple around here somewhere that might have what you seek. Come on, I'll lead you there. Just keep an eye out for more husks, will ya?
From day 50 to day 53, we made our journey to the ancient temple and looked around. The place was pretty much deserted, all just ruins like when I had found what was left of my ancestral home back in the forest. The Cyclops and I went into separate directions to search, leaving each of us alone. Suddenly, I was confronted by the witch I'd found in the swamp.
You again. I'll deal with this meddlesome pup once and for all. Then I'll find that halo and destroy it to win favor with the Mushroom Lord.
Our battle began, and I had to move out of the path of the witch's spells. I'd faced off against that powerful magic before, and it had almost taken me out. But I had more experience now. I'd learned from my past defeats, and I'd come with new weapons. So I leapt into action and swiped my diamond sword at the witch. It worked! I landed some strong hits, then used the rubble of the temple as cover. Jumping back out at the right time, I was finally able to beat the witch for good. The Cyclops had been hiding, but reappeared to show me around the temple. There was a hidden area underneath the floor.
Go down there alone, Zozo. I'm way too scared.
I went into the underground area alone, and there we found something I never expected to see. It wasn't the halo, it was a lightning dragon.
Ah, you must have come seeking the halo. Sorry to disappoint, but don't worry, you're on the right path. You cannot merely find the halo, it must find you.
And how can I make it find me?
You must master balance, Zozo. Become the balance of all elements. Then, and only then, will you find what you seek.
From day 54 to day 57, I made the long journey back to my base. When I arrived, I was so happy to see how much it had improved. I took a look at all the upgrades that my friends had made while I'd been gone. There were more defensive walls around the perimeter. We even had a watchtower where I could keep a lookout for the Mushroom Lord's forces. It was all coming together really nicely. I spoke with my mentor, the Air Elemental, about the advice the Lightning Dragon had given me.
A
Achieving balance between the elements is your destiny, Zozo. But it's no easy task. You need to seek out the root of evil and start tipping the scales. And as you do, you'll learn more with every victory. Here, there is one of the Mushroom Lord's cronies scouring the ancient forest for you. Go and tilt the scales back towards balance.
I set off to find the Mushroom Lord's mob, and sure enough, discovered a Dreadlich. This thing was scary. I'd never fought anything like it before. But my focus was on my goal. I had to master the elements and bring back balance, and I used that to guide me through the fight. With my goal in mind, battling the Dreadlich seemed easy by comparison, and it fell at my Flame Breath and Diamond Blade. I moved as swift as the air with the ferocity of fire and held my ground with the strength of earth. I was starting to learn what it really meant to be an elemental wolf. When I returned back to my base, the weaponsmith had a new diamond helmet forged for me, so I added it to my armor chest, feeling happy I was making so much progress. From day 58 to day 62, I was woken up by the weaponsmith, who seemed super excited to show me something.
Come, take a look, Zozo. We've been working hard on getting this place looking mighty fine. Come see the best part.
It was the statue. It had been almost finished, and it looked amazing. It towered over the main area of the fortress, proud and awe-inspiring. I was so happy to see it almost finished. It looks awesome, thanks so much. Suddenly, an explosive fireball rocked one of our walls. I ran outside to see the air elemental panicking.
Zozo, ghasts are attacking. We need to fend them off. Remember what you've learned about balance.
Yes, Master. You and all the others should hide in the buildings. I'll take them all on. With everyone else in safety, it was time for me to take on the ghast attackers. I hopped into the fray. This time, I tried to imagine water, how fluidly it moved, but also how strong and dangerous it could be. My elements had all the strength and speed of a flash flood, and it meant I was able to take down all of the ghasts in no time. But I wasn't fast enough to save one of my friends. A ghast had launched a fireball as it ran away, retreating to the Mushroom Lord, and the fireball had struck my trusty weaponsmith. From day 63 to day 66, I was still feeling sad at the loss of my friend, the weaponsmith. I had decided to venture back to the desert to seek more information from the lightning dragon. Although I was sad, I wanted to use the halo to stop the evil Mushroom Lord. I remembered my goal, balance. Not just balancing the elements, but also finding the right balance of my emotions too. I allowed myself to be sad for my friend, but also had to make sure I didn't let anger or hatred get the better of me. When I returned to the temple in the desert, the lightning dragon was nowhere to be found. That was strange, I thought. But then again, he had been cooped up underground for who knows how many centuries. Maybe he just needed to get out and do some sightseeing. But in his place was an old book. He must have left it behind. I opened it up to read, and it told the story of the halo in much more detail. And even better, there was a clue about where to look for it. I couldn't allow myself to get impatient. Learn how to master balance, and the halo would find me. That's what the dragon told me. Suddenly, I was attacked by the ghast, the one who had escaped. This was my chance to defeat it, but while I could have done so out of revenge for my fallen friend, the weaponsmith, instead, I remembered my lessons about balance and dealt with the last ghast. From day 67 to day 70, I headed into the heart of the ancient forest like the book had suggested. There was a sinister fortress waiting for me. It was the Mushroom Lord's hideout. It was no wonder his forces had been able to find my base so easily and so many times. His base wasn't far from mine. It had been under my nose the whole time. I tried to get closer to the fortress, but it was guarded on all sides by mutant zombies.
Halt! By order of the Mushroom Lord!
I'm not halting for him. His time is up. I need to end his reign of terror once and for all. I attacked the mutant zombie and easily chopped it down, but in the commotion, more of them started swarming to my location. There was a huge horde, too many for me to take down alone. Just as I was about to be defeated, I heard the voice of the air elemental in my head.
Zozo, don't give up hope. Things are tough right now, but you can't take on the Mushroom Lord until you're ready. Get to safety.
With that, I ran back to a safe distance where the air elemental was waiting for me. From day 71 to day 74, once we had made our way to safety, the air elemental noticed my discomfort.
I know you're frustrated, Zozo, but you can't give in to that frustration if you hope to succeed. I understand, we all do, but you just want to do right by others. But don't worry, victory will come in its own time.
As we headed back to our base, we came across a note that some of the Mushroom Lord's forces had left on a tree. We thought it was to send a message to all of his various mutants and monsters, but it was entirely possible he wanted to brag to me specifically. Good news, my minions. I have in my possession the ancient halo. It was not lost. I have had it all along. But we cannot be complacent. The last thing we want is Zozo getting his hands on it. So be alert, and if you spot that elemental wolf, you know what to do! The air elemental offered me some food to replenish my hunger, and we continued towards the base. From day 75 to day 78, we returned to my base in the ancient forest. Although my spirits were pretty low, seeing how much my home had been improved was enough to make me smile again. The place had gotten much bigger, not quite the size of the Mushroom Lord's fungal fortress, but still with more rooms and better storage and crafting areas. It reminded me of the weaponsmith and how he'd be proud to see how far we'd come. Suddenly, there was an attacker at the perimeter wall. It was one of the mutant zombies. It must have followed our trail back from the Mushroom Lord's base. Immediately, I went in to attack it, but not out of anger. I had to make sure to follow the air elemental's teachings and not let myself be too frustrated. I fought with all the ferocity of fire, but also the calmness of still water. I stood my ground like stone and finally moved with the swift speed of the air. I was in tune with all the elements, and it allowed me to beat the mutant zombie. To my surprise, I leveled up. My victory had made me even stronger. I now had 50 hearts and a new understanding of my elemental abilities. This gave me a special power, the Dragon Fireball Attack. Even better, the mutant zombie dropped a clue. Fungi the Mushroom Lord was going to be in the Autumnal Valley soon. From day 79 to day 84, I headed off to the Autumnal Valley, where I had first encountered the Mushroom Lord. Back then, I had learned that he was planning to unleash the Great Change and turn everything in the overworld into an awful fungus-filled realm. But how was he going to do it? Was that what he needed the halo for? And why come to this place specifically? My thoughts were interrupted by another cockatrice popping out in front of me. Hey, who are you?
I'm Carl the cockatrice, and you must be Zozo the elemental wolf.
So, are you friendly like Clarence? I know not all cockatrices agree with the Mushroom Lord.
Oh, you want to find the Mushroom Lord? Well, he's planning to use the winds here to carry his fungus spores across the overworld. Here, I can take you to him.
I trusted the cockatrice like Clarence, but to my surprise, he turned on me. He was still loyal to fungi. We battled, and I used my Dragon Fireball Attack to finish off Carl. From day 85 to day 89, I decided to find anyone else that could help me put a stop to Fungi the Mushroom Lord's plans. I thought the most knowledgeable person to ask, after my mentor the Air Elemental, would be the Lightning Dragon. So I headed back to the temple where he had been before. But sadly, he still hadn't returned. That's when the Cyclops popped back up.
Oh, hey there, Zozo!
Hi, you're the Cyclops from before, right?
Yes, sir. Simon's the name. Didn't get a chance to thank you for dealing with that witch and those zombies before.
No problem. I don't suppose you know where the dragon went?
No idea. Haven't seen him since he left the temple.
That's a shame. I really needed his advice.
Anything I can help with? It's the least I could do after you helped me out.
I don't suppose you know how I can get the halo and defeat Fungi the Mushroom Lord?
Fungi? Well, the halo would help you for sure, but you mean you haven't tried netherite yet?
Netherite?
Yeah, fungi's weak to netherite. And lucky for you, I know a place you can get yourself some.
From day 90 to day 94, I headed off to the place that Simon the Cyclops had pointed out for me. It was a cave where apparently someone had stashed some netherite ingots and forgotten about them. I kept my guard up. After being betrayed by Carl, I couldn't be 100% sure that this wasn't a trap. And at any rate, the last time I was in a cave, I had a whole nest of nasty myrmexes to clear out. But much to my pleasant surprise, I found the chest without any trouble, and sure enough, it was filled with netherite ingots. But I couldn't just hurl them at fungi and call it a day. No, I needed to craft them into something that could help me win the day. I thought back to my old friend the weaponsmith, and it gave me the perfect idea. I'd make a netherite sword. Luckily, there was something that looked like a smithy right next to me. By combining the ingots with my trusty diamond sword, I was able to turn it into a brand new netherite sword, one that would weaken the Mushroom Lord when we next battled. From day 95 to day 97, I made my way back to my base in the ancient forest. It had been a long journey, and the ancestral home of my fellow elemental wolves was almost restored to its former glory. There was just one final touch.
Here, Zozo, we've been working on it to keep your spirits up, but you should be the one to put the final piece in place.
With that, I added the final piece to the elemental wolf statue. With the statue done, the air elemental approached me.
It's time, Zozo. You've learned much about harnessing the elements and restoring balance to the overworld. Before you face the Mushroom Lord once more, you deserve to give yourself a moment to remember just how far you've come and just how much progress you've made.
Taking a moment, I realized that I'd grown and gotten stronger as the statue had gotten bigger. It was there as a reminder of how much I'd gone through and how big I felt on the inside now. It had been one heck of a journey and not always an easy one, but I wasn't the same wolf cub that I'd been when I started. Ow! On day 98, I got ready to set off to take on Fungi the Mushroom Lord one more time. First, I spoke to Clarence the cockatrice. Well, Clarence, this might be goodbye for good.
Zozo, wait! I want to come with you.
Are you sure? I thought you were scared of the Mushroom Lord.
I am, or at least I was, but I should have stood up to him instead of running away. If you're gonna take him down, then now's as good of a time as any for me to do what I should have done from the start.
Glad to have you with me, Clarence. As we went to leave, my air elemental mentor had one final bit of wisdom to impart.
Zozo, you must remember all you've learned. You can restore balance as an elemental wolf with the halo in your possession. You'll be able to bring all the elements of the overworld into harmony once again. But there is one final thing you must do. If you've been enjoying this video, be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel.
On day 99, Clarence and I marched up to the huge fungal fortress of the Mushroom Lord. Our plan was to get inside, weaken Fungi, and get the halo back from him. We were met by a horde of zombies ahead of us, but I remembered all I had learned so far and relied on my elemental powers to fight back. My dragon fireball attack took out a bunch of them as I used fire and air at the same time. I swung my netherite sword at the zombies, taking them out in one hit. The air was guiding my sword, and the netherite hiding within the earth was strengthening my blows. The zombies had once been a challenge with their numbers, but now I was better attuned with the balance of the elements, staying calm and cutting through them, one by one. As more and more zombies flooded out, Clarence hung back to distract them, and I ran right into the base, ready to take down the Mushroom Lord himself. On day 100, I searched the fungus fortress for the Mushroom Lord, but instead, I found what I'd been looking for, the halo! But it was guarded by a mighty pigless. I used all of the elements to defeat him. And sure enough, just like the lightning dragon had promised, I obtained the halo. I leveled up, getting 80 hearts, and even one more extra ability, a lightning blast. I hurled crackling bolts of lightning at the pigless. Before long, they had been defeated, which only left their master.
Zozo, you won't stop the great change. Even with that blasted halo, you'll never stop my plans. Soon the overworld will be mine, a filthy fungus-ridden paradise for me to rule over.
No, Fungi, you'll never win! I have mastered all the elements, but most importantly, I know why you'll never win. Because there must be balance. The overworld can't just be one thing.
Foolish wolf, you have been a thorn in my side for too long.
Right before my eyes, Fungi the Mushroom Lord grew into a huge version of himself. Although I was surprised, I didn't let my fear rule me. After all, two could play that game. I channeled the balance of all the elements and called on the power of the halo to transform into my ultimate form. Awoo! The battle was on! I swiped at Fungi with my netherite sword, and it worked! Simon was right. Netherite made him weaker. I fought with all the attacks at my disposal, energy blast, then followed up with a claw attack, and some extra dragon fireball and lightning strikes for good measure. The netherite made my attacks do some real lasting damage. The Mushroom Lord was almost beaten. I summoned up all the elements, earth, wind, fire, the water, lightning, and energy of the overworld, and channeled them into one last swing of my sword. Boom! It worked! Fungi the Mushroom Lord was defeated! He exploded into tiny little spores. But this wasn't a chance for me to be cruel, so I called up the wind to carry his spores across the overworld, just enough so that fungus and mushrooms would grow. After all, everything had to be balanced. That was my job as the Elemental Wolf.